My name is Malcolm, and I believe that teachers are the heartbeat of our nation. The World Economic Forum has rated South Africa amongst the lowest in the world when it comes to the quality of education outcomes. Now, when we consider that government spends the biggest portion of GDP on basic education, and when we consider that corporate South Africa spends 8 billion rand a year on corporate social investment, 40% going to education, it is quite a concern. Now, there are many well-documented instances of what's wrong with our basic education sector. We believe there are two key problems. The first one is that there's a lot of fragmentation and silo-driven efforts amongst the many stakeholders within basic education, from government through to business, to unions, to education agencies, and even professionals. The second problem is when we look at the driving force behind learning is our teachers. And there's not enough support for our teachers, especially when you look at this drive towards the fourth industrial revolution. If you've ever attended a government conference lately, it's probably the buzzword of the moment. And so we looked at those challenges and we thought to ourselves, why don't we create an online professional learning community that connects all stakeholders within the basic education ecosystem, and where we aim to harness the combined knowledge, experience, and investment to make a significant impact in basic education. We focus on three pillars. The first one is professional development of teachers, where we look at training teachers, providing them with access to quality resources, and even teacher placement. If you look at the way our platform, because it's driven by data and because it's social, we're able to use teachers' profiles and match them with the school's needs in terms of their recruitment drives. We provide support to teachers, and this is both holistic support as well as curriculum support. Now, don't underestimate the holistic support of teachers. In the last few years where we've supported them with regards to financial education, there's been research that's linked teacher absenteeism because of stress, where teachers turn to alcohol, and so absenteeism goes up on a Friday and a Monday, learner performance goes down. There's also been instances where financial brokers go into schools and convince teachers to cash in on their pensions, go 2 years out of the system, and then come back in. The challenge with that is the department lost 34,000 teachers in the last 3 to 4 years. We are targeting the 433,320 teachers, impacting 12 million learners across the 25,000 schools in South Africa. Our aim is to eventually export this innovation to other countries. In terms of traction, we've raised just over 2.6 million rand through grant funding as well as corporate social investments. We've had over 7,800 signups, 2,400 active, but that's a vanity metric because of those 2,400 active, it's a lot of teachers coming into our communities and looking for stuff. They don't have the behavior of actually contributing to the platform, so that's something we're working on. Key thing to mention is we've got partnerships, official partnerships with the key custodians in basic education from the Department of Basic Education, the Council, South African Council for Educators, as well as the Labour Relations Council. And just to show you, in terms of our influence, we are also a member of the Task Committee, which is the Teacher Appreciation and Support Program, which was established by the Minister in 2015 to look at the holistic development of teachers. We were also the first digital platform in 2015 to be endorsed by SACE for continuous teacher professional development. And we're currently pioneering the way for them to work with other providers to professionalize teaching. I'm quite excited about this. Version 4 of our platform is going to be released of 1st of July. When you consider we ran a proof of concept in 2015, we've come a long way in terms of reaching this milestone. But the meaningful traction for me is an instance that happened last year where SACE contacted us. They had a school in a rural Mpumalanga where the learners didn't have any calculators and they were writing mathematics. So we reached out to one of our partners, Maths at Sharp, and they donated calculators as well as mathematical resources for all the learners at that school. We also have instances where we've connected the South African Mathematics Foundation with Telkom to provide professionally developed mathematics plans for grade 10 and 11 learners. In terms of our accolades, in 2018, we were the recipient of a MISC Grand Challenge by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. We were one of 15 recipients of 2,900 applications. We were also the best EdTech solution from the World Summit Awards for South Africa. In terms of the team, I think it's important to mention Zibuza.net sits under the umbrella of a social enterprise, a nonprofit organization by the name of Dr. C.L. Smith Foundation. It's a tribute to my late grandfather. And then Marvel Technologies. Essentially what the nonprofit entity does is stakeholder management and project management, and the for-profit does project delivery. Interestingly, none of us get paid salaries, so I think in terms of motivating people to come on board, it's all performance-based, based on impact that we have, where people get paid. And finally, my reason for applying to this program is just for the support and the expertise in terms of helping us to prepare to scale. Thank you.
What does scale look like for you?
Sorry?
What does scale look like for you?
So scale means just basically exporting this innovation into other countries. But before we focus on that, we want to make sure that we have a model that works perfectly in South Africa. We understand market dynamics as well. The technology is built on cloud and open frameworks. So for us to spawn off an instance of Zibuza into another country with localization, it's as easy as clicking on a few buttons. So that's what scales means to me in terms of being able to grow the community by numbers. Scale to me also means impact. So can we connect more corporate donors with instances like this rural school in Mpumalanga? There's so many instances of where this platform has been applicable. And it's all non-linear. It's like random stuff that happens that just brings people together. And so when I talk about scale, for me, it's about impact and growth.
So do you have teachers from all over the country?
All 9 provinces, correct. Yes.
And also, just to clarify, are you purely grants-based or?
No, so we started off initially as a for-profit, and when we went to government and various corporates, they said, we love what you're doing, but we prefer a non-profit. So I founded a non-profit company, and then we spent the last few years kind of figuring out who does what, and compliance and governance and stuff. And so that's where we're at now in terms of stakeholder engagement and project management within the non-profit company. And that's also when you look at market dynamics in Africa, that we've got what they call a missing middle. So it's not like in America where I can charge teachers for access in terms of our services. In South Africa, 98% of our schooling system is public schools. A lot of teachers can't afford this. So if we were to start charging, we'd actually be stretching that digital divide and inequality in terms of teachers that need access to quality resources not getting it. And so what we've done is we've leveraged that dynamic of corporate social investment, because that's where the money sits in South Africa. When you look at the BE scorecard, it's basically CSI, skills development, enterprise and supplier development. We tick all of those boxes. That's how we've designed it. But we don't want to be dependent on that. So what we are trying to do is then link it into a for-profit model where we're charging for value created. Some of the values that revenue streams we will be validating over the next 12 months is essentially things like targeted communication, where you've got publishers that want to engage with a select group of teachers. Because we have those teachers' profiles in terms of location, subjects, grades, interests, we can connect those organizations with those teachers. It's a type of affiliated marketing, but I feel like that's a dirty word, because our aim is not to advertise, but essentially what we're trying to do is do that matchmaking and connections. And we've had examples whereby we've got willing corporate donors and they're looking for worthy causes, and we link them with a provider like a publisher who does online training, and we issue vouchers for that. That's one of the ways we're monetizing it. I've also had interest from financial institutions that saw a need for this in the healthcare system. So one of the things we're looking at is white labeling the platform in other use cases in terms of becoming a viable, profitable business.
I can see why the NGO would be, that digital divide and also the money divide between teachers and schools. Yeah. But do you think that model is viable, for example, if you're moving it to other markets in Africa, for example?
So that's where we need to change, and this is what I'm hoping the type of training and stuff that we'll get from Accelerate 2030 is looking at the different markets and saying, you know what, in this market there's no need for a non-profit, or there's no need to establish another non-profit in another territory. Why don't you partner with an existing non-profit? And essentially we would just then provide the technology platform.
I just have one more competitors do what?
Our biggest competitors do nothing, continue business as usual, right? Because, I mean, teachers are so used to just doing that thing, they don't know how to deal with change. So a lot of our focus is not even technology, it's behavior. And then how do we build that behavior into our platform through gamification to start changing behavior? So I think Facebook's a competitor. Facebook has private groups. You've got, much more teachers than we have. But Facebook is a lot of noise. Teachers don't get professional development points. They don't get access to courses. Basically, noise, 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 noise. We are competing with physical kind of engagements and interactions where a teacher could go to a seminar. And if you look at what we're doing, we're digitizing that. So teachers won't necessarily want to go to seminars because they'd be able to do it in the comfort of their own homes and at their own time. So that's our competitive landscape on a global scale.
Maybe just a quick one. How do you overcome then for teachers in rural areas or low technology access areas that accessibility
So that's where
challenge?
we work with partners. So looking at existing programs that are in these communities, one of our things, we can't be everything to everybody. So we partner where we can. Our whole ethos is built on collaboration. And so we look for those partners. Yes, we're not going to reach everybody, but eventually we're going to reach that tipping point. And in fact, I gave a presentation this week and I gave them that 60 framework for technological progression. And I'm saying, we're only in the digitization and deceptive phases. Once the disruption haven't even happened yet. So I do think that that's not a long-term problem that we're going to have. Yes, currently it is a reality. Not much we can do about it, but I think eventually it's not going to be a hurdle or a barrier.